me something tall and strong. Make it a glass of wine before I blow my mind. I'm just here in my studio having a nice glass of wine after a long, hard day at work. So we just finished these wine bottle stoppers. These are the molds that I bought on Amazon, and it came with a pack of 5 molds, bottle stopper molds, and then a pack of 10 of these stoppers. So originally I was not going to shoot any video on my first round of experiments on these 5 wine bottle stoppers. Five wine bottle stoppers. Because I wanted to experiment. I've never used these before. I wanted to give them a try before I showed exactly what I did. But I'm glad that I shot the video because I made several mistakes, or probably, well, more than a handful. This will be a good learning experience for me. I wanted to make the mistakes so you don't have to. I'm a lot more confident with these, and I think my next round is gonna be great. So let's go straight to the video, and then I'll come back at the end and show you all 5 that I made. Let's go. My first experiment was seeing if I could do layers inside of these molds without doing one big pour. Each time that I worked on a few wine glasses on my cup turner, I just mixed up a little bit of extra resin and poured it into the molds. First mistake I made was scraping my stir stick against the side of the mold, and this created drips inside that I didn't want, and it just created a lot of issues later. And I liked how I was able to lay some of these molds on their sides so that I can create different facets of color and different layers of color, which it ended up being really cool. And I did end up squeezing these a little bit just to try to get the bubbles out. It wasn't necessarily a mistake, but you don't want to do that and create lumps in your almost cured resin. Another mistake I feel I made was underestimating how much time it was going to take doing this method of using leftover resin. It was taking a long time. And another mistake was also not realizing how big these molds were. Honestly, each one of these, I measured them afterwards, each one of these takes about 40 milliliters of resin. And that's a lot if you're going to do just a straight pour. So that's 20... how many is that? 200 milliliters if I do all 4 of these at one time. So I was trying to do them in layers. It was just taking too long. Again, not necessarily a mistake, but I just didn't do my homework ahead of time. But you see how these little faceted ones, they're perfect because you can lay them on the side and do, really some really cool effects. I'm excited about trying this again for sure. Because I learn by doing, not by watching. So if this includes making a couple mistakes, then so be it. I won't make it again, right? That's how you learn. My biggest mistake probably was grabbing the wrong bottle of resin and then having to pour it back because I used the KSRESIN liquidy split instead of my Let's Resin casting epoxy. The Let's Resin casting epoxy is meant for a deeper pour and a slower curing time so that it allows the bubbles to come out. So I'm filling each of these little molds with some just different things like crushed glass and my mermaid trash and glitter, little shells, all kinds of things just to take up that space because I just didn't want it to be just a solid blob of resin. Once again, I'm just playing around and trying new things, okay? So I mixed up not enough once again because I just wasn't sure how much to mix. And then adding my little baubles and doodads and whatnots in there. Now, here's my other big mistake, only because I don't know any better, was overfilling these things. And the reason you don't want to overfill them is because you will have trouble attaching on the bottle stopper itself. The method I'm trying to use to attach the bottle stopper is putting on a dab of resin and then resting the bottle stopper, balancing the bottle stopper on top of the wet resin until it is cured. And this worked fine for 4 of them, but that 5th one, I had overfilled the mold with the shells, so I had to take my Dremel tool and sand down the shells so that the bottle stopper would lay flat. Then you also don't want to overfill the mold with resin, because when you go to demold, you will be left with a kind of a sharp lip, and that's going to have to be cut away, otherwise it's ugly and you'll cut yourself. Demolding these was actually really easy. The molds themselves are pretty thin, so I just peeled them down like an onion, just like you would peel an onion, and then just got busy trimming away all of the sharp edges just with my X-Acto knife. I used my Dremel tool, and then I also used a little sanding block just to smooth them out. This wasn't ideal, and I definitely will not make this same mistake again. I don't think that I'm going to use resin to attach these on next time, or if I do use resin, I probably will just do a really thin layer once these are demolded, rather than putting the stopper inside of the mold. I probably would demold and then use resin or E6000. And ignore this last little bottle stopper. This is another experiment. Yay, another experiment. And I'm going to do a full video later on that full process. But I'm excited. It actually did work out really well. And I'm excited to show you all the process on how I made this. All right, now for the big reveal. And you know what? I'm really excited. These were a complete experiment. But I really love how these turned out. I really love how these turned out. I mean, obviously I have a lot of detail to work on. But as far as the molds themselves, I'm really happy with how I was able to demold them. I played around with adding little sea turtle, and then this one had crushed glass inside. That was a little bit more difficult. On this one, I put a fish inside, and this one was just sea turtle. I do need to practice some more on attaching the stopper itself. This one's a little bit crooked, but I overfilled it a little bit. So that's what I learned, is the trick is not to overfill these so that you can't get the stopper in there. I did have to do a lot of sanding, but you know what? Overall, I'm really happy. These I'm probably gonna give as gifts maybe, or I'll put in like an oops pile that I always have at my shows. But I mean, for my first try, not bad, honestly. I wouldn't sell these particular ones, but I'm probably gonna do another video soon. I like them. So look for the link below to these molds, and just let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. See you next time. And I will put the link. I originally was not gonna. Does that make sense? No, probably not. I wanted to know, make some mistakes so that you don't have to do that. Make mistakes so you don't make mistakes. Hey, eyes up here, Buster.